is Noyo Harbor and the need for a dredge management plan there. That's an ongoing issue, that's a core project. The other is Coyote Dam and not only the maintenance and the viability of the dam, but the ongoing concept of the feasibility study and how that would assist Mendocino County in addressing water issues. So those two, and then of course transportation, and we have a multitude of projects that could be considered for that, as our transportation director is constantly reminding us. So I think to cut it off in June, or to even explore it in June, I would recommend that we go through this calendar year. We still have the discussion in the budget as to how we want to go forward for the next increment, but at least to see us through this calendar year, because really more or less the congressional action on these things is based much more on a calendar year. So that would be my recommendation.
Thank you. Just a quick comment to this. All these lobbying firms, I mean, to me, it's like, for instance, the money we got for the microwave project, our congressional delegate, they took credit for it, and our lobbyists took credit for it, and I'm not so sure who really happened, but in a way it's kind of like saying by hiring these outfits, it's like we're bypassing our congressional staff back in Washington, or even local issues in Sacramento. But we talk about the money and stimulus. We were told here about 3 weeks ago on a memo from the Department of Transportation that we couldn't move forward with $7.4 million worth of projects that were ready to go because we couldn't come up with a $375,000 match. So, where do you start the stimulus? Do you start it locally, or do you start it in Washington? So that's just a point that I want to make. But, extending this contract to 2010, June, that totally bypasses any discussion of it this next budget year. So if we just extend the contract to June 31st, 2009, that would at least give you your this year's work, and then you could have the discussion at budget time. Supervisor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the effort to move this along, I would like to amend the recommended action and ask for the extension date to be December 31st, 2009, and that would be the motion.
I'll second, based on the explanation that Supervisor Smith gave earlier. Made sense to me.
Anybody in the audience? I just want to speak in this, sure.
Yes, I would just tie it to some of your staff here, transportation and water, and the need for a new administration with a enabled fiscal bill to stimulate our economy, that this might not be the time to renegotiate this critical contract. From what Mr. Mitchell said, the necessary transparency of this lobbying firm to the public, I believe, is going to be accomplished. And I know Brook Trails will be very interested in both a second access road and a off-stream reservoir, that these bills can help us move forward for all of our citizens. Thank you.
State your name for the record.
Tony Orr.
Tony, can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
You're on the Brook Trails board. Have you ever heard of this firm's name?
Well, of course not.
Okay,
I don't deal directly with lobbyists, although I'm certainly going to gain some interest this year, because I've been sort of frustrated for 8 years, and I think I'm not so frustrated now.
Thank you. Any other members of the public want to speak on this? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried unanimous. Okay, thank you. Item 5A, legislative report, CEO.
Tom Mitchell, Chief Executive Officer. The only item was to inform you that Supervisor Smith and I will be in Washington, D.C. for the remainder of the week, advocating for the earmark projects which your board has previously approved, and we'll also be talking about transportation projects, get some understanding of what the new authorization bill might contain, and we'll be talking about wave energy and a number of other issues related to citizens of Mendocino County.
Just a note, I noticed in that little flyer that Alcade and Faith sent us that it said that there's going to be no earmarks in this proposal. So how do you address that? You're going back there to put in for earmarks, and then they've already stated there's
I
going to be
think
no
the
earmarks.
chief executive misspoke. He meant funding requests.
Well, he said earmarks.
I know.
Yes, the reality is of the way Washington DC works, everybody talks about earmarks going away, but earmarks are not going away. Earmarks will be very much part of the process this year with the federal government. When things may change is next year, but every indication we have, if you look at the current economic stimulus bill, that major bill of what, $800 billion is absolutely full of earmarks throughout that entire bill.
Okay, budget office report, do we have a, I guess we're gonna move into that this afternoon, so there's no report today. CEO's report, do you have anything else?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Okay, we're going to, convene as the Mendocino County Water Agency Board of Directors. We have with us here today, agenda item 9A1, discussion of possible action regarding drought conditions. Our water agency directors here, Roland Sanford. Roland, morning.
Okay, good morning. I'll move this along since I know you got a full schedule for this morning. Let me just start with an update on drought conditions here. Since we last met, conditions have improved somewhat more dramatically for some than others. However, as I'll explain in a moment, we are still very much in a drought situation. And the bottom line is that although we've had a fair amount of rain of late, this rain really hasn't been particularly intense or long enough duration to provide a significant amount of runoff. Then consequently, the amount of runoff we have received is fairly modest. Case in point, Lake Mendocino. Since we last met about 2 weeks ago, we've received about 6 inches of rain, which is a significant amount. But we've only received about 10,000 acre-feet of runoff. And again, that's due in part to the fact that it's been so dry prior to the rains, and also that the rains have been relatively modest and low intensity for the most part. And so, right now, we have approximately 40,000 acre-feet in storage at Lake Mendocino, as opposed to 70,000 acre-feet, which would be more typical this year. Similarly, in 1977, kind of the record drought, some of the worst single-year drought years on record, in 1977, we had 50,000 acre-feet in storage at this time. So the point is that we have made some improvements here. We've gained 10,000 acre-feet. We are still 10,000 acre-feet below where we were in 1977 at this time. And so again, that's why we're saying that, look, we're still very much in a drought. Now, because Lake Mendocino storage is still so low, it's anticipated that next week the Sonoma County Water Agency will announce that they are requiring their users to decrease water use by at least 30%. In other words, at least 30% mandatory rationing. Russian River Flood Control will be meeting, I believe, next Monday. And it's my understanding from the manager, Sean White, that they will also be considering or discussing mandatory rationing by their customers. One final note on the Russian River drainage. Again, despite the rains that we have received, it's anticipated that come March 1, the conditions will be such that it will be declared a critically dry year as opposed to a dry year for the Russian River, and this has implications with respect to releases from the dam. Over in Willits and in the Eel River drains, the situation is a little better. Last time we talked, the city of Willits had about 800 acre-feet in storage. As of a couple days ago, that's improved to 1,200 acre-feet, and that's good news. That is essentially enough water to get them through